Hello everyone, my name is Unreal Khan, and welcome back, finally, to another video in Hearts of Iron 4 as The Fire Rises, or as the Russian Federation in the Fire Rises mod. Disclaimer, I do not support any radical ideologies depicted in this video. This is specifically a video game, and this video is made for entertainment purposes as well as the game itself. In no way, shape, or form do I support any of the things that I might say that seem suspicious to the UN or any other global organization that uses YouTube to look for any potential enemies. I do not support these ideologies. I am simply making this video for entertainment purposes. There are some symbols associated with these ideologies or things of the past that contain very, very sensitive topics, which unfortunately, due to my poor editing skills, I am unable to edit out. Because of that, I apologize, and because of that, you will be seeing them. These include the swastika from the National Socialist regime of Germany in World War II, among many other things. Again, I do not support these ideologies. This is simply a game for fun. Okay, with that out of the way, that's a long disclaimer. Hope you guys are doing well. It's been a month since my last video, and again, I would like to apologize. I mainly just sat back. I had like a video making fatigue or a brain fart of sorts, so I wasn't able to figure out when to make the next video. The mod kept getting updated, among many other things. Then school came up. I had my finals. And I had to spend a lot of time with my family preparing for Christmas, which was pretty good. Speaking of Christmas, I do want to point out something. Before you notice the familiar nationalist symbol of Imperial Russia, let me say this. For Christmas, I got a new gaming computer. Beforehand, I used a GE76 Raider gaming laptop to record my videos on Hearts of Iron 4, Surviving Mars, Mass Effect, amongst other video games. This is new. I got a new gaming computer, not a laptop, that has been fully and customly built, and I didn't build it myself because I'm no tech expert here. But it's because of that my computer now runs faster. The game runs a little faster. Fortunately, the F1, F2 keys that I use to quickly press the buttons and all that, it's a little bugged. So, fortunately, it is what it is. I'll have to click these instead. But yeah. Okay, now, game-wise. I managed to figure out how to win as LDPR Russia again, and as I said in the post, we are doing right before the First European War. However, I am not going to win the First European War. Let's start with this, Eagle in the Desert. See what I mean? The game is a little faster. What I mean by this, folks, is that, oh gosh, what am I saying? Oh yeah, so I managed to figure it out, how to win. as the LDPR. Nothing ever happens. And yeah, I just redid it, so no Medvedev turning Navalny. This is going to be Zhirinovsky turning into Navalny. I'm sorry for that Russian thing. But yeah. Okay, so now we're about to cross the Rubicon. Again, this is a game. In case YouTube is using an AI to determine if I'm saying hate speech or not, or what have you, this is simply a video game. I do not support any of this stuff. This is just for fun. But yeah, apparently, the mod updated several times, and amongst the most recent update, the Union of America, oh, well, here's the update. Here's the current situation in America, but the Union of America got a new path, which I forgot the name of. China's entering Myanmar, that's none of our business. Okay, the Union of America added a new path called the Cognoscenti, or something like that. But what this basically does is it adds the deep state, i.e., the, like, what is it? Several organizations that, according to certain conspiracy theories, appear to be operating the American government. Again, it's just speculation. I don't believe in that stuff, but the devs of this mod added it for fun in the Union of America to see what would happen if the CIA launched a coup against a democratic government and became like a securiocracy, which, if you don't know what that is basically let me just add the battle lines in real quick. The securiocracy is basically a state where it's entirely run by the security services of said state. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'll probably showcase it in a video playthrough later, but I want to get into the Republican playthrough for the Union, then China, Japan, and the Constitutionalists. Which, yeah, they defeated the Patriot Front, the Union, that. Well, they defeated the rest, but now that's not important. We have to get this thing done. SMO in Ukraine. Amidst a cacophony of escalating tensions and demands by Moscow on their neighbor Ukraine, all negotiations have fell through as the Russian army has crossed the Russo-Ukrainian border en masse, sparking the Russo-Ukrainian War. Almost immediately, Russia has been with a barrage of sanctions, though this has not quashed the momentum of the Russians as they began advancing through the west fields of Ukraine, risen to the Dnieper River before NATO forces, whom had promised to support Ukraine, from reinforcing the Ukrainian army in time. Meanwhile, reports have become flooding in of Russia's intentions to also invade the Baltic states and Poland soon after the battle over Ukraine, and as such, NATO has been placed on the highest form of alertness last seen during the Cuban Missile Crisis. With American troops nowhere in sight due to the ongoing civil conflict in their homeland, the responsibility of holding back the Russian horde has largely befallen on the European Union, which has become the de facto head of the alliance. Wherever NATO will hold, however, is yet to be determined. So we finished our tree. Oh, it hasn't added yet. Or, no. Wait for it. Okay. Beginning of the SML. You know how this will happen. You attack until dawn, crushing the Ukrainian defenses with air power and tank breakthroughs. Strike quickly and focus on capturing the areas you are interested in. Connecting with Transnistria will be useful. Our soldiers must try to surround as many enemy troops as possible. However, Ukraine's allies will not stand idly by. Expect them to intervene in the conflict soon, and plan your operations against Ukraine accordingly. Use all available means to achieve victory. If you can handle Ukraine, then half the job will be done. Good luck to you. The future of Europe depends on your efforts. Roger that. Okay, so we get this here. But unfortunately, this will be changed by the focuses on the First European War. But let's start this off with the SMO. Ukraine, a country born out of a series of mistakes by Russian rulers, has long been a source of tension between Russia and the West since the 19th century. Since the 2014 revolution, Western powers have used Ukraine to counter Russia. Their goal is to turn it into a battleground, draining the resources and lives of Slavic people. As their plans come to fruition, it is crucial for Russia to act decisively. Ukraine will no longer threaten Russia, and one day may return to the Slavic fold, rejoining its roots. Gain base war support and lose stability. We can handle that. That has not bothered us before. Okay. Okay, let's begin. So we're not going to focus on Ukraine for long. It doesn't really matter. We can just simply meat grind our way through. Saudi Arabia's civil war has come to an end. It doesn't really matter. Once we... Okay, I should probably give out my plan. My plan for this is to basically crush as many Ukrainian troops as possible and take out a lot of their army as much as possible so that when I do the second European war as Navalny, I wouldn't have a lot of Ukrainian troops to deal with. Still, it wouldn't matter much because, well, you'd have a much bigger NATO on your hands. So, we're gonna wait until yeah, we're gonna get embargoed. It doesn't really matter. Yes, we're gonna meat wave this. I know. I gotta do better. As a HOI4 player. Oh, and there it goes. War breaks out in Europe. Shocking announcement has come. Nope. Shocking announcement has come from NATO officials in Brussels as, for the second time in history, with the first being 9/11, Article 5 of the NATO Charter has been invoked. In the last few days, armed skirmishes have occurred between Polish and Russian border troops on the former Polish-Belarusian border. Nobody is certain who shot first, but last morning's skirmish was the first to erupt into an almost full-blown battle. Diplomats on both sides have called for negotiation and hoped that the crisis would fizzle out upon an agreement being reached. However, no such negotiations are to occur as NATO officials have instead, with a strong majority, invoked Article 5. One NATO official from the UK claimed with a chilling language that there is no room for negotiation when a direct armed attack has been conducted on a NATO member. Already, almost every nation in the eastern flank of NATO has invoked a national state of emergency and immediate mobilization of their respective armed forces. The Russian Foreign Ministry released a short but ominous statement claiming that Russia will mobilize and execute the use of whatever military assets available to defend its sovereignty. Across the internet, videos show massive military formations racing to Eastern Europe, likely for the hostilities that are estimated to break out in the next few hours. For the first time since 1945, a major conventional war between multiple large nations is about to unfold on the continent. Europeans and analysts across the continent have been left speechless as many fear the untold amount of death and destruction that will soon follow. Blood drenches Europe's soil once again. Skirmishes, they seek strength in numbers where they lack in bravery. The war between Europeans is a civil war by Victor Hugo. It has begun. Operation Wrangel. Peter Wrangel, the cavalry hero of the Russo-Japanese War in World War I and the Black Baron of the Russian Civil War, has often been mischaracterized. However, with this decisive operation, his legacy will be rightfully honored. As we prepare to launch this campaign against our long-awaited Western adversary, Poland, the name of Baron Wrangel will be immortalized through the title of this operation. Our goal is to break through the European Union's central barrier against us. Beyond this line of defense lies the vast North German plain, the land where the Baron's cavalry once dreamed of charging freely. And there goes... Yes, we're leaving parts of this out. Okay. Due to a panicked, uncalculated member on their part, Zhirinovsky had no idea that NATO would intervene, and such, as a coward, ordered all troops to evacuate to Moscow for fear of attack. Battle of Minsk. I think it's too late, let's go. Queens of War. If cannons were the queens of the 19th century warfare and tanks ruled the battlefields of the 20th century, then in the 21st century, drones are undoubtedly the new kings of war. As the Americans deployed drones in the Middle East and Afghanistan, drones became larger, more expensive, and equipped with the latest, most powerful weapons. However, sometimes rather than those gigantic dinosaurs, it is the smaller, often non-military beasts that play a deadly role. When we turn into the drones flying over the Dnieper River, it is striking to see that most of their parts are marked with the logo of a single company, DJI Innovations, headquartered in Shenzhen, China. Drones that once delivered packages are now dropping bombs on enemy soldiers, and drones that once captured stunning landscapes are now filming heavily guarded military bases, logistics warehouses, and Martian troops. In the past, criticism of Chinese drones being unsafe or leaking user data were common. Now accusations of supporting Russian aggression and stealing intelligence have surfaced. When people, whether out of curiosity or criticism, ask DJI's president about their products being used on Eastern European battlefields, he always begins by, decisions made by product users are unrelated to the company, and then he is not interested in the war happening thousands of miles away in Europe, all while maintaining an expression of innocence. Made in China, more than washing machines and microwave ovens. Add death from the sky, this will disappear if the war ends. Yeah, we're not gonna do that. In my town, there's a war in my town, no one gives a damn about it, while hundreds of people and soldiers are dying, while Moscow's actors drink and dance. There's no children's laughter in my city. The siren sounds every day, it sings an infernal song, taking new victims from the mortality of life. My home's been empty for a long time, no hope, no love, nothing. Only in the sky, the lonely howl of the anti-air defense. In my city, sadness and sorrow, resting on morning land, laurels, everything that was now is now postponed for later, and multiplied in bloody wounds. Only my city stands as before, exhausted, just tired. We still believe in it, and we chant, victory is ours. Battle of Rostov. Operation Wrangel. Explosion at the ammunition depot in Kobzana. Oof. April 10th, 2027, merely a couple of weeks after the beginning of the European War, the cowardly Russian president Vladimir Zhirinovsky signs an unconditional surrender to the triumphant NATO forces. Shock rivels across the European continent and the rest of the world. Russia, once thought to be mighty, dominant, and the fearful giant of Europe, has cowered before a weakened Europe without the assistance of the United States of America. They now look on in shock. They could not believe that such a giant, such a power that was once the mighty Soviet Union and the Russian Empire, folded like a deck of paper cards to the sound, to the might of a bowling ball from bowling. Many European spokespeople, still in shock over this, have cheered on and triumphantly said, "If we can take down Russia, we can take down anybody, with or without America's help." More to come. NATO victorious in Europe. After a tragic tale of heartbreak and heroism in the fields of Eastern Europe's soil, the antagonizing conflict has finally closed its doors with a victory for NATO. Victorious powers have decapitated the Russian beast once and for all. Or so they thought. Among the dawn of continental freedom to the ignition of liberty's heel among the eastern landscape. NATO has resecured Ukrainian territorial integrity, whilst occupying Russian territory along the Azov to the mounting of newly independent nation-states. The bloodshed that was drawn in the circumstance of a potentially radicalized Russia resurrecting is still on display. However, a new dawn for Europe awaits, no longer bounded by a tinderbox and the silencing of the guns and pounding of the drums, as victory is here. Sometimes the tree of liberty needs to be watered with blood. And you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. Former President Ronald Reagan. The end of history? It may take a while for this to fully load in, so it might be a while. A little bit about this. Reckless provocation. Vladimir Zhirinovsky dies. The war in Europe has been a brutal and lackluster endeavor, with many of our brave soldiers ending up in graveyards or the rubble of battle, and our nation turning into nothing more than a shadow of its former self. In the wake of all this sadness, our great leader, Vladimir Zhirinovsky, has passed away. It was reported that he suffered a heart attack early in the day during a meeting with his staff. He was then rushed quickly to the nearest hospital, where sadly he was pronounced dead on arrival. He was a great leader, and while he did not lead us to victory as he promised, it remains true that he tried his hardest, putting in everything he had for his dream. With the nation in mourning and speculations of Russia's future still in the air, people aren't sure if the motherland will recover quickly or instead fall into a deep depression as all hope for a brighter future is lost. A bitter sign for the future. Add Mother Russia bleeds. It's gonna hurt us. Yavlinsky's Revolution. Yavlinsky's Revolution. It was only a matter of time before the nationwide uprisings and demonstrations would outnumber the police forces and bring down the LDPR regime. This morning, Moscow was filled with anger towards the LDPR government. The protests quickly overwhelmed the police, with many officers defying their orders and joining the rebels. Even the declaration of military intervention did not help. Soldiers, just like in 1991, refused to obey orders. So, some stood passively as protesters occupied more and more government buildings, eventually reaching the Kremlin, while others helped break through the defenses and defeat the last remaining National Guard units loyal to the government. The mastermind behind this, old Grigory Yavlinsky, one of the few liberals allowed to exist under Zhirinovsky due to his familiarity and passivity. But now they were proven wrong as his party, and he declared the beginning of Russian democratization. Yavlinsky became the interim president of the new Russia. He inherited a wounded and weakened country, with crisis and radical protests all around. For the free Russia. We are now social liberal. Liberate the prisoners of conscience. Alexei Navalny becomes the leader for the Conservative Party. And now we're led by him. Nothing about him. There's no atheists in trenches. After St. George the Victorious was declared the patron saint of the Russian armed forces, the daily use of St. George's ribbons in the military environment gradually became fashionable. Soldiers at war turned to this saint to protect them in battle, to protect them from death. Rumors are spreading about cases where such a ribbon saves a military man's life in one way or another. My timer's going to end, so I'm going to say God is with us. But yeah, we're no longer dark green, we're now light green. Okay. Victory Day. Oh. Oh, I forgot to set that. You know what, let's go past 30 minutes. I thought this was over, but nope. Use LDPR's defectors, gain base stability, authoritarian party democracy. Okay. So what we're going to do, folks, is now we are going to start pairing our divisions quickly. Well, I can't deal with these, unfortunately. That is to be expected. In today's program.